Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats, folks, for your daily live updates. Get the most out of today's episode by participating in the chat. Make sure you ask some questions, be part of the conversation, have a bit of fun, grab a coffee or a tea, take some notes, and get ready to start your day, folks. Quick few housekeeping rules, though. No spamming, no advertising or self-promotion in the chat. That's not on. Be kind and respectful to everyone when participating. And most of all, have a good time. Real estate investing can be your biggest asset. It also can be your most expensive asset when it comes to getting it right or getting it wrong, folks. It can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chats. Marvellous Monday. Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are. If you think it's Get Rich Quick, you're in the wrong place. This is the wrong podcast. This is the wrong live for you. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Hope you're all awesome and well. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wealth Coffee Chats. Good to see one or two of you up early and at it, or up late, depending on where you are. Kevin, all the way from Florida, mate. Good morning to you. Good to see you here, mate. Thanks for joining, folks. While things are getting going on the old socials, do the quick intros and hellos. Jason Witt is my name. Most of you know that, though. But if you're new, say hello in the chat. That'd be awesome to hear what you're up to and where you're at. Hey, today, folks, I thought we might talk about the idea of values doubling. You know, the idea that over time we want our wealth to go up. And what's going to do that? What's going to do that? What's going to drive our wealth and our value? And how can we, maybe have a look at, are we performing how we need to with our properties and our portfolio? And maybe have a little conversation around that. Hey, morning, Brad. Good to see you, mate. Thanks for joining. Good morning, Chris. Good to see you here. As always, thanks for joining. A few of the regulars. Maybe you're new. Like I said before, if you are new, say hello in the chat. Give us a bit of a shout out. Get a bit involved. It's always great to hear what you've got to say. Hey, so today I thought we might talk about what does it take for your property portfolio to double, your rental income to double, because at the end of the day, tell me in the chat, folks. Hey, morning, Luke. At the end of the day, the point of investing, creating some wealth, is to generate an income in the future. Now, there's many different ways to slice and dice an income. However, most of us only start out with a certain amount of resources. And those two resources generally are your income or your ability to borrow. Morning, Chris. Your ability to borrow and some of the equity, cash, or deposits that you have. And so how do we, track and accelerate and recycle and create a portfolio that will double in value and double in income and make sure that, that's going to happen. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Maybe a bit of theory, high level theory, and then we might drill into some practicalities of it and check things out. So let's dive into that today and maybe have a little bit of a conversation about where and what we're up to. Now, you guys have seen this before, the idea that there's 3 stages we go through as property investors. There's the acquisition stage, which means it's the buying stage. It's the stage where you go ahead and start to buy and accumulate those properties that you need or those assets that you need. Now, for most people, this is sort of a generalization, but for most people, the acquisition stage, let me do this. The acquisition stage, these colors are actually better. Anyway, make your mind up, Jason. The acquisition stage usually is between $3 and $4 million worth of property. All right. So right now, most people that I talk to, and that equals between $100,000 and $200,000 of income generated by that portfolio, folks. All right. So and so that's you can probably get a little bit more out of 300,000, about 150. But you know, this is kind of the gist of it. Okay. So when I sit down with property investors, and many thousands of property investors I've done this with, or investors in general, they're saying, I want some assets to generate some income to go to work so I don't have to. That's the idea. That's the general gist of, you know, this concept. So what do? We get busy. We take our income, so our jobs, our income, and we take some equity or some cash. We get a loan, and then we buy a property. So your income, some equity and cash. We get a partner called the bank, and then we deploy it. We get into it. We start to purchase our real estate, and we crack on with the idea. All right. So what does that mean here in our sort of acquisition phase? Well, let me tell you, folks, it's usually between 4 and 5 investment properties as we go along. So I like the idea of understanding how we sort of put our portfolio together. So one nice principal place of residence, call this our PPR. Okay. 5 investment properties, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why do I like 5? Well, that number usually ends up at about $3 to $4 million worth of real estate. And you know what? It fits neatly into days of the week. You want to replace your income? Well, replace Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Happy days. Now, if you want to add some extra value, you know, there's a couple of ways to do that. What I've done is I've purchased some properties in my super. Okay. So this is kind of the makeup. This is the creation. This is the general gist of a portfolio. Your principal place of residence, your income, some equity and cash and some lending deploys into the marketplace, and we buy some properties and away we go. Nothing wrong with that. Fabulous. I love it. It's the way we deploy and grow our portfolio. So what happens here? Let's just take a look at, you know, how this situation pans out over time and what we can do about it to make sure it creates the wealth that we desire. Now, this green line represents our property values. Now, you know, over time, we want them to go up. It's never exact, is it? So it's never linear. It's never linear like this. It's more like this, and I'll show you in a minute. Of recent times, we've had some nice linear upward swing, but you know, that's great. Take it when you get it. Okay, what else? What else have we got in here? Well, the other thing that's going to go up in value over time is something here. Now, it might go, what happens is it might go a bit slower. What is that goes a bit slower, folks? Put that in the chat. Usually our capital value will outpace our what? What capital value, especially in good, well-chosen real estate, capital growth outpaces the other thing that we're buying real estate for. Put that in the chat for me, folks. Put that in the chat for me. If you're there and you're playing along at home, hopefully you can see this all right. And usually what happens, let's say, you know, this is value and, yep, the rent. Exactly, Brad. This is value and rent. So our mortgage is more than those things, our loans. And then over time, you know, it might pay itself off,
or you might do interest only and then do a lump sum. Now, what is the time frame? And I'll get to sort of the next bit in a second. So just laying the foundation of our conversation this morning, folks. What is the time frame that we usually talk about this happening? Okay, 0 to over here, 20 years. Okay, 20 years. Now, if we look at this, we go, all right, usually takes about 10 years for the acquisition phase, anywhere from 5 to 7. If we say, all right, another 5 years for some of our consolidation, our upswings and our downswings and rearrangements. And then from year 20 onwards, morning, Alison, we say, all right, well, that's it. I can rearrange my situation here. I can rearrange my situation because my values are up, my rents are up, my mortgages are down, and in here is lots of wealth and money. Now, the challenge is often at this stage, folks, this is the challenge. Usually at that stage, you're a bit older, and the mechanism of lending and unlocking this is pretty important to get right. Now, this transition phase here, in this sort of section, halfway through consolidation and lifestyle phase, you need to consider a couple of things: tax, and income for the future, because that's really going to play a part. We talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm not going to get distracted. Right, so this is kind of the general gist. Ta-da, there you go. All right, so the question I get often is, Jason, that's fantastic, but I don't have 20 years, right? Or, morning, Cole, morning, James. How can I make that happen faster? What could happen? What would my portfolio have to do to make it happen faster? Let's say make it happen between 10 and 15 years, not 15 and 20. Not 15 and 20. All right? So that's the question. That's the question. How can we kind of make this happen a bit faster? Okay? Great question. Is it doable? Yes, it is. It's absolutely 100% doable. Now, it's not a perfect science, this stuff, that is for sure. But what would it take, folks? What percentage growth, compounding capital growth, and some of you might be dusting off your calculators right now or whatever it might be, but what percentage capital growth would it take for your properties to double in value over a 15-year period? Put that in the chat for me. Does anyone know what it takes for property values to double over a 15-year period? Okay, so chuck that in the chat if you know what it is, ladies and gents, and we might see. Now, yep, Brad's onto it. All right, 5%. So 5% compounding growth, so 5% growth over 15 years. Now, like we said, it's never linear, ladies and gents. It's never linear. And I'll show you something in a minute. So what's it going to take for 12 years? Well, listen, it's only going to take 6%. And you know what? In 10 years, Cole, you're on it. It'd only take 7% compounding growth. Now, what does this mean to us as property investors? Well, let's do the next bit first, all right? Okay, so not only do we want our values, our property values to go up, but rents go up, but they do go up slower. Statistically, they go up slower. If you wanted your rents to double in value, how long, what rent growth would we need for 15 years? Now, a few of you might be working out that I've already pre-calculated these ones, but in the world of property investing and rents, well, if your rent only grew at inflation, folks, if you only had inflation on your side, it'd take 25 years for your rents to double. And then it goes 4% and 5%, right? So, folks, Alison, you know what? I'm not great at math either, but I can tell you what, I'm pretty good at using a calculator and a spreadsheet. I think that's at the end of the day, I think that's what we've got to be good at, right? So there you go. Listen, so folks, if you want your rents to double, you need 5% rental growth compounding. And if you want your values to double, you want the 7%, let's say in the shortest period of time, 7% capital growth. Now, is this possible? Well, it absolutely 100% is possible. Many properties and many locations grow in statistically in those ways. Now, not every single deal will grow at the same rate. Some will grow more and some will grow less because of their own unique circumstances. But what's the drill? What is the special sauce in this, ladies and gents, is two things, two very important things. Boom, Chris is already on it, right? This idea, flight to quality, the quality of your property. Now, you've got to think about this. Is your property mission fit? All right, and I'll give you an example right now that I'm doing. I bought a few properties in my super many years ago, and one of the first ones I ever bought was a small one-bedroom unit up in Brisbane. Now, that's done okay. It's done perfectly fine. It's not knocking it out of the park. So many years later, that property now has done some things, hasn't doubled in value. It's gone up about 50%. So there's a profit there. Now, I'm looking at this property going, now that property is 9 years old now. It's a small one-bedroom apartment in an okay location, not a flight to quality A-grade location. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do two things, ladies and gents. This is the idea of migrating your money to the best possible assets, the best possible locations, and the overall concept is flight to quality. Would that property double in value? And maybe it would, right? The one I've got in my super, maybe it would. But more importantly, would it double in income value? And in my world, my calculation is like, no, it's going to be held back by income. And that's what I want in my super in the future. The capital value is kind of irrelevant because in super, I'm not be able to leverage it like I can outside of super. So what's the go? The migration of money. So I'm going to sell down. What? Jason just said sell. Oh, my Lord. I just picked myself up the chair. I'm going to sell and I'm going to migrate my money to a better deal. I'm going from a $500,000 deal to a $1.2 million deal. All right. So I'm upgrading to my deal. Now, I'm also upgrading the location. Okay. The location is in let's call it a B suburb, 15 kilometers from the CBD of Brisbane. It's a B suburb. It's perfectly fine. It's a lovely suburb. Well, and the capital gains is a lot less in self-managed super. You're dead right, Chris. Right? So I'm upgrading my future wealth massively to this. So then, I'm going from a B location and like Sam said last night, I'm upgrading that to an A location, which is a $1.2 million, 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2-car garage, water view in Gosford in Sydney, or just outside of Sydney. All right. So that's my upgrade, right? So I'm not only upgrading the quality of the property, now I'm upgrading the location. Right? So I'm going to go now I'm going to sort of back myself and go, that's the future for my wealth. Now, what does that mean? I'm just telling you a bit of a story about the idea. Maybe some of your properties are not mission fit for the next 10 or 15 or 20 years, or maybe those properties that you purchased originally when you had a certain buying power or a certain ability to purchase are not mission fit. They're not going to double in income value, right? It's going to take a long time. They're not going to double in capital value fast enough or whatever. So maybe have a look at that, all right, as we go along. And so, last but not least, let me just quickly show you in here, and I just pulled up a couple of locations in here. So all right, this is 41 4110, which is in Brisbane, a place called Pollara. I don't know if anyone knows that one, but you can see in here over the little while, let's call it down the bottom here, 2016. So, a little bit of growth. And of recent times, it's had some hyper growth, like a lot of places have. But let's take a look at the statistics in that location. Now, look at this. 3-year change, 7-year change, 10-year change, folks. All right, so the 10-year change in houses in Pollara, what does it say on the screen? It says on the screen 8.5%, folks. 8.5%. So houses have doubled in value in the last 10 years. Does it happen? Yeah, it does. It does. Pollara is one of those locations that Sam and the team identified about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, that were really undervalued. And it's probably, to be honest, done most of its growth in the last 7 years. You can sort of see here as we go. It's fantastic. Nothing wrong with that, is there? Absolutely fine. What's the rent doing there? Well, happy days. Look at this. Rent has started to grow as well because we know that location's now filled in and, 10-year change in rents. So I've got my property doubling of value. I've got my rents doubling in value. That's not too bad, is it? 6.7%. So it's probably going to be faster than good old 15 years. Now, will that continue? Will that compound over time? And will it continue in a linear fashion for my 10 or 15 years? Well, it might slow down and whatever it might be, but that's the point, right? That's the whole point. So there you go. So hopefully that makes sense, folks, today when we're talking about what's it take for my values to double, what's it take for my portfolio to double, and because that's the point. Now, a lot of people get caught up in the, hey, property doubles every 7 to 10 years. That's complete, absolute bullshit. Complete bullshit. The general market does not double every 7 to 10 years. It does not. However, good quality properties and good locations will grow in value and rent a lot faster than the general market. How do you outperform the general market? And Chris called it out today. Sam's been talking about forever. It's the idea of flight to quality, owner-occupier quality real estate that you own in your investment portfolio. Okay, so that's the drill. Anyway, there you go, folks. That's it from me today. Wealth Coffee Chat done. There's, a scribble in general terms about how to go about it. We know the drill. It does take time to build this portfolio. And in the first stage, folks, it's kind of buy well, flight to quality. Don't bloody sell until you need to strategically. There you go. All right, folks, that's it from me. Thanks for joining me today. And, take care. Join us tomorrow. Cass from the rental team is on tomorrow. And there you go. All right, team, that's it. Take care. Bye for now. Adios. Cheers.
Episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6 Star team here at positivementor.com.au.